Boom, 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 boom. How we doing tonight, guys? JT in the house, your host here for Going Hard in the Paint, keeping up with everything Alabama men's basketball, guys. It's been a great week for the Tide. We've had a great week here at the Bama Standard. My man Herb with us tonight. We got Daniel Pettey below. How we doing tonight, Herb?
All I want to say is you guys don't want to know what's in this cup. That's what kind of day it's been, but it's going to be a very fun night.
I agree on the day. It feels like today is 3 Mondays.
Yes, okay? Sir. I agree with you on that one, buddy.
It feels like today is 3 Mondays. And everybody down south has had a good bit of the snow, so we all know how that's been. Kind of been a little bit of a change for us. Daniel Pettey, how you doing today, brother? Or tonight?
Man, glad to be here, man. Like I said, coming off a good week, ready to talk some positive Alabama basketball after man, champions answer, and the Tide answered loudly this past week.
Yes.
It was an exciting week of basketball. So ready to talk. Glad to be here with you guys.
And guys, real quick, before we get going too fast, if you're here watching us, make sure that you have liked this video and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got a whole bunch of great Bama content every different day of the week, I think, except for like what day is it? Friday? I think Friday's the only day of the week we don't, and Saturday right now, due to the fact of no football. But once football comes back, guys, we have the post-game show following every game. So, and then we're also probably going to start doing something on maybe trying some basketball, big games on Saturdays. If we can hop in and give a 20-minute little recap, guys. So check us out there too. But Going Hard to Paint on Thursday nights. We are here, guys. Before we get started, Herb, let the beautiful people know what they need to have slinging around Coleman Coliseum, man. What they need, what's going on?
You already see it in the background.
It's in the back,
right?
baby.
You already see it. I can't tell if I'm on upper right now.
I always have to look because I know.
I know this is the kind of day it's been, and like I said, what's in my cup. But you see it on there too. The title towel. It goes with me everywhere. JT already knows. He's tried to call me out a couple times. He never catches me slipping. And just this week, guys, you want to know how multi-purpose it is. Some Auburn fans were giving me grief. They were trying to talk trash about their basketball team and where their football team was. Boom, put it up. Shielded myself from all their nonsense. Sent them scurrying on their way at the same time. Title towel, multi-purpose. That's a great story by Herb, man. You know I love this thing, man. It goes with me everywhere.
That right there is a pitch within a pitch, Herb. That right there, son. That was a lob catch and a repitch, son. That's what I'm talking about. I like that. My man Pettey, man. Who else keeps the lights on here at the Bama Standard? And where if somebody's looking for this new look for their home, maybe they can find this great product at.
That's right, man. We don't just go hard in the paint here at the Bama Standard. We also go hard with that natural stone in or around your home at realrockstone.com. Check out Limestone Company. Other like my man JT said, the other people that help keep the lights on here. Have you ever dreamed of having that beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Well, don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Limestone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all your project needs. Limestone is located in Aniana, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. So tell them we sent you by using the promo code The Bama Standard and receive 10% off your purchase of stone today. So don't just go hard in the paint, go hard with that Limestone Company, realrockstone.com.
That is very true, guys. And to kick off the show tonight, Alabama versus Kentucky last week, guys. It was an awesome game. Grant Nelson with a double-double, 25 points, 10 rebounds. We have Mark Sears to add 24 points. The Tide wins 102-97 right here. This is the first time Alabama has went to Kentucky and won since 2002. That is huge. That is huge. In the words of our president, that is huge. That is very huge. It's large. It's huge. It's very great. So that is something right there. Alabama hasn't done a while in basketball. Let's know the tide is turning. You like what I did right there, Herb? The tide is turning. All right. The tide is turning in the SEC. And not only in the SEC, it is turning across college basketball right now. And that itself is the reason going to lead us into this right here. Tell us about the history Alabama made Saturday night or Saturday morning, or afternoon, morning, however. But how do you feel about that game? Break down for me. Here we go. Go, Herb.
Man, first off, the atmosphere was electric. You know, you love to play games like that. I know all the football fans kind of love when you go into an environment like that. It just makes the game better. You can kind of feel it through the TV. I love the way they reacted, responded to any time Kentucky went on a run. I mean, you're looking at a team, they had 6 or 7 guys. Was it 7 or 8 guys in double figures? But we still held them off every time. And my boy Grant Nelson in this game, man. I love the fact that you throw up the first 3 as an air ball just so you can kind of get your range. And then you're like, okay, I see where the basket is. I see how the wind is blowing. I'm about to take over. But it's kind of one of the dangerous things about this Alabama team is they don't care who takes over. Whoever's got the hot hand is getting the ball, and they don't care from that point on. So, man, that's just a huge, huge win. It's kind of like I guess it was a reverse Kentucky coming to Alabama and beating them in football. Man, this was a huge, huge win to not be overstated.
Yeah, that was a great win. You got to look at the facts of how the stars played in this game too, which is huge. That's something that I like a lot. Grant Nelson doing his thing, Mark Sears doing his thing. Big time game here, big time players. Daniel Pettey, how'd you like this? The Tide showed up. They played. I know it's quickly easy bias memory here in basketball, especially college basketball. People quickly forget. We just lost the game, shouldn't have lost. And then going in now. Now you got to go to Kentucky and play Kentucky. You're gonna drop 2 straight. Tide shows up. Tide plays great. How are we feeling about that, Pettey?
Well, that's what you do when you drop one that you feel like you weren't supposed to, and you're not. You're a double-digit favorite over a team. You're not supposed to lose that game at home, and you do. Well, what do? You go to, let's be real, Bryant-Denny's the cathedral of college football. Rupp Arena is the cathedral of college basketball, and you go up, and anytime you win one in Rupp, especially when they're top 10 in the country, you can't state. There's not enough to say. You slayed one of the Dragons. You put that pelt on your NCAA tournament resume. But man, I more so want to point out, not to pat ourselves on the back as a show, but like I was talking to Herb before we hopped in, and you were lost in the internet wilderness. We warned all you guys. We warned all you guys before SEC play. There's going to be nights where you lose to a team you're not expecting to. And it may be a Mississippi State or an Ole Miss, and sure enough, it came prophetic. But then you go take one that you're not supposed to. Well, sure enough, the next one you go take care of Kentucky, and then you follow it immediately up with a very solid win against a good Vanderbilt team. So it was a great answer to a game that didn't look good offensively. And that's how championship teams answer, man. You go up and you take care of business and prove what everybody thought before the Ole Miss game. Look, losing to Ole Miss didn't mean, and I said this to someone, hey, just because you lost to Ole Miss doesn't mean you're not still one of, if not the best, one of the best 2 or 3 basketball teams in college basketball. I think this past week has proven Alabama's one of the best 2 or 3 teams in college basketball.
And real quick to that, to pat ourselves on the back a little bit more, we all said Alabama was going to answer. We said the Ole Miss game would not be duplicated, and that's why we thought we could win that game. So
I agree. I think that when you break down look back at it, Bama played good. Like I said, Stars played good. You want to see that happen. Just a great game all around. Good bounce back game. Wouldn't put too much into it. Wouldn't take too much away. Wouldn't put too much. Wouldn't build up. Yeah, that's it. We're winning the Natty now. Not saying that, but that's a good stepping stone. Needed that win. It's a great win there. We'll kind of put a pin in that one, guys. Alabama, Kentucky, great game there. We got some good other SEC games coming up. One that we played the other night, Alabama versus Vanderbilt. That game itself was pretty good. Bama kind of flat. It's like sometimes Bama will start out like that, start out a little flat, kind of get going. We Grant Nelson hit that double-double against versus Kentucky. You're looking for a big game here. It was a little bit different in this game here. You have Holloway, though, and Diabate scored 22 apiece. Mark Sears with 21. Bama wins 103-80. Oh, I think I lagged. 103-87. I think I lagged. My bad. But 103-87, Bama wins. That right there, a great win. Another 100 points scored in a W right there. Defense played a little bit better here against Vanderbilt. Lesser competition than Kentucky, though. Daniel, break this down for us. Alabama versus Vanderbilt. Normally, you see Alabama probably barely win this game, though. Normally it's like 89-87 or 90. I like seeing that 103. Now, granted, they did score 87. We still dropped 100, though. How we feeling about this game?
Well, then almost equally as impressive as the Ole Miss loss answer was the Kentucky win answer. You come home and you're not playing. Look, let's be real. On the flip side, when you play Kentucky, Bama's got some dogs and competitors that lights a different fire. You come back home after that game, how do you get that fire against a team that's not Kentucky? And you look up at halftime, and like you said, it felt sleepy, but you got 48 points. Then you pop up another 100, like you're the damn Harlem Globetrotters. And again, it's just different guys getting it done every night. Look, this is going to be people are going to hate us this show. We're just going to sound like some arrogant asses, but to keep patting ourselves on the back, this was what we talked about that showed that Bama might be the deepest team in college basketball. Every night it's different guys stepping up outside of one. There's one guy that seems to be kind of consistent, and we all know who he is. He's the main man at the point. Yes. But outside of Sears, there's different guys. Like you said, Grant puts up 24 in Lexington, and then we come back and off the bench, you got Diabate and Holloway putting up 22. Just again, the signs of the depth, the signs of a maturity of a team coming off a big win like Kentucky, and then backing it up with just another take care of business win against Vanderbilt at home.
Yep.
Yeah, great way to put that. Take care of business. You get this dub done here. This isn't like one of those. Like I said, the win, the 103-87. I like the gap there. Got a little bit of gap, a little bit of a win there, a little bit of spread. Herb, how you like this one here, brother? Alabama versus Vanderbilt. Break that one down for me.
I do wonder if Vanderbilt beating Tennessee does help you with the lull from the Kentucky game. You know what I mean? It's easy to overlook a Vanderbilt team, but you're like, oh, well, hey, look, they just beat Tennessee. Like, you guys better come focused. But something we were talking about off air, man, it's when I look at this team, and I especially look at the bench, when you have Holloway, Youngblood, and Diabate come in the game, for like a Phylon, for a Sears, and for a Amore, like, you're not losing as much as what you think. Now, I'm not going to say, look, it's Holloway as good as Sears. That's not what I'm saying. I hope nobody misinterprets that. But you're not losing as much from those three spots as you would think, especially if they're having to attack the other bench. And, man, Holloway, I've been toting that one for maybe because he's an Auburn transfer. I've been on his bandwagon this whole year. Yeah. But you just got to love the way he's been playing. But Diabate looked like he just wanted to get some touches this game. I mean, he's taking it hard to the hole. Mm-hmm. He's playing through contact. I mean, it was just great to see the bench jump in there. And then, Youngblood, we still kind of feel like he's feeling his way through it. But I feel like those three are able to replicate what the starting unit gives you without that much of a drop-off. And that's what kind of makes a difference for us.
I agree, and I think that right there, especially I talked about this back before we got into the SEC run. I said the bench this year is going to be a big deal.
Yes.
Right. Everything you just said explains what I was talking about, the bench this year being a big deal for the Tide. Well, normally our starting five's pretty good. They can score, does good, but when you separate them and you start putting other guys in and this guy here and that guy here, now that it's different. It don't play right. You can't run the offense right. So that's how it was before. Or you have one guy, now it's a bunch of guys. Youngblood's playing great. Like Eric's saying in the comments right here. Youngblood working his butt off with ball handling. Yes, I like Youngblood playing too. He's getting minutes too. Diabate, that's another one right there that people, a sleeper name for this year, especially people probably wasn't speaking about as much was him. So great points there. Great points there. So Alabama versus Vanderbilt. Put a button on that. Glad that one's over with. Time to move forward. We'll talk about what's coming next. But before we get to that, since you guys are here with us and in the comments, guys, Herb, let the beautiful people know in the comments and around who helps keep the lights on here and what they need to have at Coleman Coliseum, brother.
Look, multi-purpose, works for every sport. Basketball, we're definitely out there. We're supporting them. Football, keep it over your head. Maybe sure you're keeping it. Tough losses, wipe away a couple of tears. But cheers, wipe away the sweat, whatever. Love these guys. Have texted them. Know them on a personal level. Whitwell Sports, great folks, great product. This is what you carry around with you. Like we know, I carry an extra one in my car just in case. And if you see me out of town, I'm liable to give you an extra one if you've never had one. But Title Tower, love the product. Check them out there. And tell them Herb sent you. They might be like, who's Herb? But that's fine. But tell them anyway. Pump up my ego a little bit.
And then tell them Standard and get a discount.
Herb sent me. What? Okay, Standard. Can I get the discount?
All right, Standard. Oh, okay. Herb sent you. So we need to double the
price. Yes.
That's funny. He said Herb sent me. Yeah. So use the Bama Standard code right here, guys. Make sure you check us out. Herb's wild.
JT's like, what did I get myself into?
No, I'm laughing. That's funny right here. So Alabama versus LSU preview. That's what's coming up with the Tide next. The Tide's 5-1 SEC play. LSU is 1-4. The Tide's offense ranks number 1 in the country, while LSU is 71st in the country. Besides triple overtime win in UCF, the Tigers have yet to allow more than 90 points in a game. Alabama is averaging that per game or more. Mark Sears leads the Tide with 19 points a game, and Cam Carter leads them with 17.6 a game. That's kind of the rundown for the Alabama versus LSU game coming up. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a good match. It's going to be the point of attack for Alabama, in my opinion, for this one. Alabama's going to have to pick what LSU is going to give them and attack it. And now if they take that away, you're going to have to pick where you're going at again. What I mean by that is you're going to shoot, we're going to go inside. We don't need to waste. Sometimes we've been wasting a little bit of time, half a quarter or half a half, trying to figure out what we need to do. And, that's what we need to do. Oh, let's score 20 points real quick. And it's like, well, we could have been doing that. So I think that's where Alabama needs to look at for this one right here. Herb, kick us off for this one right here. Alabama versus LSU preview. I just gave you a couple little stats right there. How are we feeling about this one?
Honestly, good. I feel like you don't want to overlook any opponent, but you just look at their offense and you just don't think they can keep up with us. They haven't broke 80 in SEC play. Their average is 7th or 8th in the conference, but they've got a couple 100-point outings versus some lesser teams that's kind of bump that up. But I don't think that there's not as much breakdown for this one. If Alabama comes to play, they score like they normally score. They win this win going away. And that's kind of looking at all the stats, looking at the players for LSU. There's just not a whole lot to fear from them. I feel like you're going to get one good half from LSU, but they don't have the horses to run the whole race.
Yeah, so I think you're in that boat too there, would you? Second half be a different game. Also, when the benches start coming in, you'll see different games.
Yes,
6, 7 men.
You've seen that in their SEC games. So yeah.
So yeah, they'll probably come out strong playing, and then it'll kind of be a little different as the game kind of goes on. You see how Georgia's better than them, but how good Georgia played Auburn this past week too. It gave them a little scare. So Daniel, how we feeling, man? Alabama versus LSU preview. It's coming up weekend. How we looking at one?
Yeah, I think
mute.
Daniel said, I
can't
I saw your lips going.
I pulled a final whistle move that I never pulled that all my other knuckleheads pull. Now I've done it on another show. not to beat a dead horse, but you never want to feel good going into an SEC game. But if you were going to feel good about one, I think LSU is probably the weakest team in the league. And if you show up, take care of business, you should be able to put this team away. Like you said, their front line should be able to score a little bit, but they're not going to be able. Bama's depth is going to take over in this game. This is one that you look. And still, if you are to lose, something just the unthinkable happens. There's still a quad 2. This isn't a landmine. With them being the worst team in the league, normally that's a quad 4 loss on your resume that at the end they're looking at resumes. They're like, damn, this is bad. This isn't even a resume.
Damn,
this Wart, that's look, man, you told me you had a few drinks at prom and went with that girl, but we didn't know it was that girl. That's not, there is no that girl in the SEC right now. So, but even with that said, this is a game you just don't lose. You show up, take care of business. Sears does his thing. Everybody takes care of it. It's a late night game, 8:30, SEC Network. Everybody's going to be watching probably Tennessee, Auburn. Outside of the Bama, so just take care of business on a sleepy night.
I might be watching that one.
Auburn's gonna get this. Might be one where, sorry guys, I have to have the split screen because we're gonna have Auburn and Tennessee going at the same time, and I'll be interested in what's going on in that matchup. Tennessee has struggled on the road so far in the SEC, so South Carolina is pretty bad. Knappy, I don't know if I ever say that right. I know your name's Kyle. But, man, they've still got a lottery pick. So you saw them. They were leading. And you want to talk about how brutal the SEC is. 2 teams last night led for 39 and a half minutes of a ball game, and both of them lost. One of them was South Carolina. They had Florida from whistle to 8 seconds to go in the game when Florida hits a layup and lost that ball game. So, yeah, I know South Carolina's bad, but even with a lottery pick, any night a lottery pick can go off and beat your ass. And so I think.
Can I jump in on that one real quick? Something we said off this. People don't realize in basketball, it's only 5 floors. Like you can get. There's one reason why BYU paid so much for their player. One guy can affect the game so much more than like one guy in football. So if you get one lottery pick, yeah, you can win some games you're not supposed to win in basketball. So sorry to jump in on that, but yeah, your worst team can still catch some W's some nights. I know that's a football question, but that's disrespectful.
Whoa.
No, I'm looking at the last question on there. That's very disrespectful. So
was that football? Did they do that in football?
Yeah, they did that in football. I hope we beat them by 30.
Still seen the same way as it used to be, though.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if anybody even notices, or I mean, I guess so. Maybe it does. I know that used to be like that. Like somebody basically came up with the Knights Club and just slapped your ass across the face.
Yeah, used to be a slap in the face. I don't know. I think it is still a little bit.
Is it still?
Yes.
Well,
that's if I'm the coach. That's how I pitch it.
Oh, and their goober coach still lives in that mindset.
Yeah, I agree. And he probably does. It's more or less. Oh man. I was thinking if you look at what he was talking about right here, talking about the homecoming game, South Carolina, with that right here, Alabama versus South Carolina. I think that right there, that we'll talk about it a lot on these channels coming up in the off season, but that right there should be just enough, like, for this year. If that ain't enough, like, to get you going, man, I don't want to get going. I'm gonna get off on a different run on that one. But Alabama versus LSU right there. Pettey. Hold on, would you finish?
No, yeah, I was kind of even piggybacking. I think this is just a game you show up, take care of business. I know we don't want to take any game in the SEC lightly, but this is not take it lightly, take it serious. But this is one you should. I mean, I think Bama the line will probably come out around 12 to 14 points. So again, take care of business.
Which seems very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad, Chris. You asked earlier. I didn't know you were thinking, is it tonight? No, I thought it's Saturday at 7:30. Yeah.
Yes, Saturday. Yeah, my bad if I didn't say that, guys. That is my fault too. So Alabama versus LSU, that'll be a good one. That was the preview, guys. I think that right there should tell you enough that the Tide comes to play. Take care of business Saturday night.
and they're in there.
Get it done, baby. Yeah. This should be a get her done, baby. So we'll move on to player of the week. Basically last segment before the questions. Player of the week, everybody will kind of give somebody. I'll kick us off, then we'll let Herb and then Pettey go. I'm going Nelson this week. I like the double-double against Kentucky. Big-time player, big-time game. That's what I like. 25 points, 10 boards. Just, doing his thing. I like it. Scoring, getting down there, doing the dirty work too, boxing out, making things happen, being a presence. I think that's good. He's also a leader on this team. You talk about Mark Sears being 1A. This is 1B, in my opinion, to the team. So, yeah, give me Nelson, baby.
So it was tough this week if you're not picking Sears, because it was like whoever had a good game against Kentucky didn't play well the other one, and vice versa. I'm going to go with the guy I've always been with, and that's Holloway. A lot of it had to do with Vanderbilt, but I feel like even against Kentucky, he still penetrated well, still dished it out well. Maybe didn't shoot as well as he would have liked, but and then, anytime I can stick it to Auburn, I'm going to stick it to Auburn a little bit. But I just feel like he's been a steadying presence off of the bench and kind of filling in with whatever they need. If I need to pass more, he's going to pass more. If he needs to shoot more, he's going to shoot more. So Holloway is my player. That's maybe not necessarily just on how he's played the past two games, but against Vanderbilt, he really did show out. But love the way he's been playing.
I do too. He's a great one. I went back and forth. There's a couple other guys. Pettey, who'd you like?
Man, I'm glad we all got a different one this week. And I was going to just say the Bama bench for the way it showed up in both games, but I'll pick one and another bench player in Diabate. He went 8-8 at Kentucky. He was a hair of one shot and 2 boards away from a double-double up there. Then he comes back to Vanderbilt and gets 22 and 10, gets the double-double. So, that's just 2 nights in a row coming off the bench. You add quality minutes in Rupp, and then you go off against Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
I love what Diabate adds. And look,
yes.
He's just –
it doesn't always show up in the box score, I think, with what he does and what he brings to the table.
Chris James on our Tuesday night show kind of compared him to Dennis Rodman, but man, he's better, a better scorer. He's better to the hole than Rodman was. But I do like kind of the comparison because he's not a 6'10" guy. He's more in that 6'8", 6'8", but he uses his body well. He's got great athleticism down low and in the post. And I love his game, man. So I'm going to give it to him. I think there was. Like you said, you could give it to Sears almost every night. We should give him the honorary MVP each night, and then who's playing for second. But there was a lot of guys that stepped up, and I'll give it to Diabate this week.
Yep. I love how we just went all differently right there. That was great. Big Mo playing that hard hat basketball. I agree, Gary. Yeah. I agree with you too.
Yeah, great call, man. Reed's
call.
Back reminds me, right? Reed's playing good ball, man. So many guys flash. I feel like we leave. I'll get off a show, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, and then I'll watch us play, and I'm like, man, I forget to talk about this guy.
Me too. I do it. I've started taking notes during the game now because I'll forget a player or something.
Stuff that you want to do,
Yeah, he had that shot with double dudes in his face, boom, boom, and I was like, dang. Yeah, I'll forget sometimes too, so I have to take notes or go back and watch clips and do that. But yeah, I'm with you guys. That's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah.
Great problem to have. Great there. So real quick, guys, before we end out the show, guys, do we have any questions or anything anybody asked back? We'll pull those back up real quick. We'll hit that.
We got a few. We had
let's see.
Nate, go for it.
Okay, Nate is starting to get the chemistry going with the rotation of personnel, and we haven't even had really the last 3 games. I think it's coming together well. Yes, I agree. And then, like you just said, we talked about it a minute ago, Gary, Reed's a big piece. He's playing great, too, when he's in the game, all over boards, assists, rebounds. Dude's getting all type stuff. So that's great. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Reed is kind of a luxury piece, though, because you do have the big 3 that I kind of mentioned off the bench with Holloway, Youngblood, and Diabate. If you tighten up your rotation when it comes to tournament time, you end at 8. So Reed might kind of get lost in the shuffle, but you have a guy like Reed who's your extra guy. I mean, that just shows you how deep the Alabama team is.
I agree.
Absolutely. And I think that to talk about chemistry, I think this team is starting to really take the identity of their coach, and that's what we want. Oates is just ice in the vein, stone cold killer. Don't ever be scared to take the shot. If so, I don't want you out there.
Yes.
And you see that team starting to play like that with that attitude, and I love Oates, man. I love this team. I like what I'm seeing chemistry wise. Like I said, that answer at Rupp, whew, it's what championship teams do.
Agreed.
Cool. Hey, Herb, grab this real quick.
Yeah. Hey, go take care. JT's got to go take care of some stuff. We're going to take over. Herb's going to run the 1s and 2s, and I'm going to sit here and look not as pretty on the sides.
So I saw this one that came up, so I've been thinking about my answer for a while. I don't like Holloway. So first off, if you do this, who are you taking out? If Holloway starts and he's the point guard, are you taking out Phylon? The problem with that is you lose a lot of scoring. I mean, a lot of shooting. Holloway's just a much better shooter than Phylon is. That's part of his game that Phylon is still working on. You lose a lot of shooting, come off your bench, and you've kind of doubled up a position. Holloway can do a lot of the things that Sears does. He shoots from well outside. He drives to the basket. He's looking for people. I feel like Holloway's got to be Mark Sears light versus playing them together. Phylon maybe moves to the bench. You're not moving somebody else to the bench. It's got to be that position. So I don't like it for that point right there. So I see what they're saying. Yeah, Holloway would be a great point guard. And him and Sears, they close a lot of games together. So I see why people are saying that. But I don't like it in this instance because of you weaken your bench and you're not exactly gaining a lot in the starting because now you're just gonna get a lot of duplication. So that's the only reason why I disagree with that one.
Yeah, I think it kind of waters. I think like someone we were just talking about the chemistry and the rotation starting to work.
Yes.
And here's the thing, man. Sears is the most dynamic player in the SEC, and Bama's offense is. And you mentioned it. Holloway does a lot of the same things with his ability to drive to the hole, but this offense is completely predicated on driving to the hole.
Yes.
If that's not open, you're hitting what's open on the outside and going from there. And that's how the. And, man, Sears is just so dynamic at it. Now, I get the idea because Sears is also a dynamic shooter. Most of the time, your point guard doesn't have the ability to shoot like a top end too. Right. And Sears brings that dynamic. But just kind of more echoing what you said than anything, Herb. You just don't want to change that dynamic at this point and water it down with what you got. Who you're going to take out, Phylon? I mean, I don't know. Again, it's a good problem to have, and it just kind of goes on. It's just a good problem to have. It shows you got depth. But you want to do it with your best, and Sears is your absolute best and gives you the best opportunity when going to the hole. And again, not to take away from Holloway, he's damn good at it, but he's and he's really
settled into that though too. That bench row, he's really, really settled. And think about if you have Holloway in the starting and like Phylon coming off the bench and Youngblood still finding a shot, you've weakened the second unit so much that you're just not getting enough scoring anymore.
So when you can bring a pop like Holloway who gives you a 22-point game on any given night off the bench, you're just again, it means you sleep to a 20-something point win over a team that just won at home against Tennessee. Yes. They just beat Tennessee and beat them soundly. Yes. And then you just went coast to coast on them sleepily because of stuff like that. So again, I don't think it's a horrible idea. I get that. I mean, when you
I see why.
It's fun to try to mix and match the pieces when you've got so many pieces, Eric. So I don't think it's a horrible idea. But I mean, I think it's more you're just kind of rolling with your number one horse in that situation. But again, it's just Bama's depth is just a good thing right now.
Yes.
I just team. The more I talk about them, the more the Kool-Aid flows through the veins here, Herb. I think this team has absolutely got the look of a, 6 wins in March team.
Yeah. And think about it, they're not even shooting that well from three right now. We're getting looks, but we're not knocking them down the way you want us to knock them down. Don't let us get hot in March.
Oh,
and
no.
It's over with.
Oh, this team starts getting hot. You're looking at 110, 120-point nights.
Yeah.
Sears struggles with the dribble through traffic, but I do understand from being the 6th man off the bench. No, Hey man, Herb.
What? No, I mean Sears, I think, is getting better at it. I think his size just plays against him at times when he's getting through traffic. But I feel like it's something he's pressing a little bit more because it's why his draft stock wasn't as great this past year. He's a great shooter, but there's a lot of those, I guess, that you can grab out there. He's got to do something else. It's like I said, one of the cheap comps for him was like a Jalen Brunson, but because they're both left-handed. But Sears is a much better shooter, but Brunson is just craftier around the basket and can get more done. And I think because of what your point, Eric's point right here, Sears has to get better at all that. A lot of times he jumps up and gets himself in a little bit of trouble and kind of figures it out. That's what he's got to get better at if he wants to get to the next level, for sure.
Yeah, definitely a good point, Eric. Man, it's one that's like so when you have this type of when you have.
I thought it was a great question. I thought it was a great question with Holloway. It's definitely, but I do think there's a method to the madness for sure.
Absolutely. Well, man, good stuff, man. Herb, I'll let you. No, thank you guys. We enjoy it. I hope y'all are ready for basketball season, man. Buckle up. This again, we say it every week, but if you haven't been paying attention, don't just watch on the night Bama plays. Watch every other night. There's some basketball season is, man, it's not for the faint of heart if you don't like games going down to the wire, your team being on the brink against anybody. It's good stuff. But I tell you what, man, this Bama team, I've said it a few times. I wouldn't be shocked to see the state of Alabama have two teams represented in the Final Four if the brackets work out the way.
It's almost a kind of a disappointment, Now, obviously, the the health of Broome is huge.
Yeah,
but I would be disappointed. Like if we're out before the Sweet 16, it's almost like it's a failure, right, for both teams.
Yeah,
and Elite Eight are kind of like, maybe we can. But if we don't make the Final Four, it feels like you've kind of had a throwaway season,
Which talk about changing the expectations. This isn't our football program where titles are expected. It's like, hey, let's just get to the dance and see what we can do. Prior to, of course, Nate.
Right.
And now, like you said, it's almost if we don't get past the Sweet 16, there's shit. We kind of.
People will be like, if we don't make it past the Sweet 16, people will be asking, is it time to fire Nate Oates? It'll be ridiculous. Don't get me wrong.
Absurd because look, go back.
It will happen though. It'll happen.
Because when you say who are the best programs in basketball, okay, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, Duke. Go look at how many times those teams have won the national title in the last 20 years. And it's not going to be, getting March Madness should be called March Minefield because, you get in the wrong bracket, you get the wrong team that's hot, that's a 7 seed or whatever.
That is it.
Crap can go haywire. So, again, you get popped in this on day 2 on the field of 32, and you're like, oh man, coach has lost it. Yeah, no, don't do any of that. The best teams get popped in weird places in March. But no, but back to your point, Herb, it would be a disappointment if this team doesn't make an Elite Eight Final Four run because it's just good God, man. They're going through the toughest league in the country right now. Yeah, and all the pieces. Yeah.
This team is built for, hey, Mark Sears is having an off shooting night. That's not an excuse to lose this game. No. And
that's where, hey, and Eric, that's your point right there. The nights that Sears and he's going to have them. All right, young blood.
He's had them.
Yeah, man. He's had them.
Look at our group chat for who was our player of the week, and we're like, I don't know. Let's just all talk about somebody different.
Bunch of dudes, man. I wanted to say the bench. The bench was my player.
That was a great point.
Yeah, I mean, because the bench is just any night there's a dude you can look over and say, hey, come on. And he can step up and give you 20. Yeah. And I don't remember that. I remember growing up, even in the best years of Bama basketball, you knew that it was Grizzard or Kennedy Winston. Yes. That's going to be my guy that gets me 20. That's going to be Mo or whatever. Yep. It wasn't the 5th dude off the bench, down the line.
Or the guy who hadn't played all year and then starts in December and you're like, oh, Youngblood's going to have a good night tonight. It is crazy what he's built. And to his credit, he's built it. And, he had to have promised certain people like, hey, you're not going to be starting. And they looked at the system and said, I'm going to get enough shots and minutes to make this work. I'm fine.
I'm still going to get my shots. And that's the beautiful thing in this offense. It's, such a volume shooting offense. You're going to get your turn, man. And if you're the hot hand, he's going to roll with you. That's just, a fun system to play in, and why I think it's going to continue.
It is.
Going.
I think that's why it makes your recruiting easier, man. You can tell a guy like, look, you're still going to get your minutes, you're going to get your shots, you're going to get your points, you're going to get your shot at the next level, which is what you're hoping for. So you can't do that in football as much. You can't tell like the fifth wide receiver, hey, still come play with me. But the second point guard, oh yeah, I'm good.
Well, we like to laugh at it. You really love the Holloway stuff because the Auburn, and we like to laugh about it. But no, all jokes aside, Bruce Pearl's an outstanding coach. Auburn's an outstanding basketball program, and Holloway didn't work in that program. He works in this one. Oates was able to get something out of him. Pearl wasn't even able to get out of Holloway. And again, that's just. It speaks to recruiting and being able to tell kids, hey, you come here, man. I don't care if you're in a slump. We'll shoot you out of it. And that sells to kids these days, man. So again, if you're not aboard this Oates train, you're missing out right now, because it is an absolute fun ride in Alabama basketball.
Real quick to Eric's last point there. The problem with trying to get a guy, I don't disagree with your point. The problem with that is that's just not our style of play. So you want what he's looking for in a big man is toughness, defense, rebounding, catch the lob, slam it down. So we just don't play a style where we're ever dumping into the big man. And I think the guys know that when they get recruited here. So would I love to have that? Yes, especially in some of these slogs of games. It's just not Nate Oates style. And we just kind of already know that. So that's why they're just never getting enough touches to make it work.
Yep.
Cool. We're good to go. Yeah. No, appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Daniel Pettey, appreciate you, sir. JT, we know you had to handle some stuff, man. So good. Check out. You see the kind of stuff slotting there. What is it? Every night except Friday, and we might be starting to incorporate some Saturdays after some big games. So we'll still be talking about that, man. So check out the channel. We appreciate everybody's support. Daniel, what you got to say before we go here?
Yeah, no, look out. We may should have shown up after the Kentucky game. However, I wasn't available. We kind of, like Herb said, we may pop in for a little post game live after a big win at Rupp or a big win against those Auburn Tigers when it comes down the pipe.
There you go. Eric just called me predictable. Eric, I got to be who I am, man. Sorry, man, but you're right. The style, man. I'm sorry. Appreciate everybody, man. I always say this on our show. The comments make the show. We appreciate you all tuning in. We hope that you're going to continue to ride this basketball train and continue to support this channel and continue to support this show, man. So for everybody here, you all have a wonderful night. And as always, roll tide.
Roll tide. See you next time.